you guys know the Simone Biles story by now, right? You know that Simone is arguably the greatest gymnast in the history of American sports. You know that Simone pulled out of the Olympics yesterday morning, about 24 hours ago. Team USA lost to the Russian Olympic Committee, which, by the way, is Team Russia. Just because you don't play their anthem doesn't mean they're not from Russia and they're not Team Russia. Vladdy won, you didn't. And at the end of the day, you know, the final announcement from Simone herself was that she was dealing with mental fatigue. And she just couldn't process her thoughts anymore. And that what happened was she came out, warmed up in the morning, and she said when she initially was done warming up, something felt wrong. But she was fine with it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the hotel. I've got 5.5 hours. I'm going to go back to the Olympic Village, excuse me. Simone had 5.5 hours between the time practice ended until she had to compete. Simone Biles went back to the hotel and could not take a nap. She could not sleep. And she was uneasy, and she was fighting anxiety, and she was crying. And she said she felt like she just couldn't control her mind. And that her biggest fear was failure. And that she did not want to let her team down, so she withdrew from the Olympics and was there to cheer for the men's team and the women's team. And I thought it took a certain level of courage to admit that, because she wasn't making excuses that, hey, when she qualified for the U.S. Olympic team, she had broken toes on both feet. She wasn't making excuses that, you know, hey, look, I've had kidney stones, I've had all kinds of physical ailments over the last year that is, you know, prevented me from performing at my highest level. You know what? I just don't want to lose, so I'm going to withdraw. She straight up said she was dealing with mental issues that didn't allow her to compete. What else does she need to say, and what else do we need to say beyond, hey, thanks for everything you've done for our country. You've won a ton of medals. You've brought us incredible glory. Let's all walk away from this. That's what it should have been. That's where it should have ended. Mm-hmm. But my feeling is that there were a lot of mainly and almost unanimously white commenters in the news. And I'm trying not to give them credence like experts or pundits or journalists, because they're not. And I'm going to play this one bite by a gentleman named Charlie Kirk, who is a radio host and a guy that founded a group called Turning Point USA. Huge Trump supporter, huge conservative, who has always straddled the line of decency. Well, he's no longer straddling that line because he said this about Simone Biles.
Today it's like, you know what? I'm not going to do something stupid and get hurt. It's just not worth it. Especially when you have like 3 amazing athletes that can step up to the plate and do it. So you know who has the gold medal? Russia. I have to go look at these 4'11" Russian Olympians chewing on their gold medals, smirking at the Americans. I'm not okay with that. But honestly, that's where we're headed. We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles. If she got all these mental health problems, don't show up. She's an incredible athlete. Of course she's an incredible athlete. I'm not saying, I just said she's probably the greatest gymnast of all time. She's also very selfish, she's immature, and she is a shame to the country. What kind of person skips the gold medal match? Who does that? It's a shame to the nation. You just gave a gift to the Russians. Don't show up. If you're not ready for the big time, we got thousands of young female gymnasts that would love to take the place.
That's Charlie Kirk. And the thing that is killing me is that Charlie Kirk clearly has not done his homework here. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're a Trump supporter. But when you call Simone Biles a sociopath, which means she's selfish and has no ability to diagnose who she is and where she is in society, and I think you don't know much about Simone Biles. When you say that she's selfish and she just couldn't handle the pressure, I think you don't know much about Simone Biles. She's one of the most decorated and most successful gymnasts of all time. And I think you don't know much about her fight through USA Gymnastics. One of the things that she has refused to openly talk about is her experience with a guy named Larry Nassar, who was the doctor for many Olympians, including the gymnastics team, who is now in prison for molesting most of the female athletes that he took care of, including Simone Biles. And she talked about openly leading up to the Olympic trials that the biggest problem for her had been the anxiety that she felt over coronavirus because it delayed the Olympics for a year and she wanted to be done with the United States Association of Gymnastics. She did not want to be part of this. She wanted it to be over last summer. And it was a real internal mental struggle for her. She had serious injuries over the last year. And she's had trouble processing the abuse that she's taken at the hands of Larry Nassar. She's not commented on it since she withdrew. Did not use it as an excuse. But a former gymnast who knows Simone that she's very close to tweeted about it and specifically said she's dealing with the trauma of Larry Nassar. And Simone Biles retweeted that and liked it. And for guys like Charlie Kirk to call her weak and to say she's an embarrassment to the country, like, what are you talking about, man? This is a young woman that has given her entire existence to this country. And what do 4-foot-tall Russians have to do with anything? Like, this is so incredibly stupid and short-sighted. And
yeah, I mean, it's who we are as a country right now. I mean, you think about this, and this is guys like Charlie Kirk who are white males, who are conservatives, and who it's no secret that Charlie Kirk is right up the conspiracy theory alley. He's right up the pro-Trump, alley, all those things that we always talk about. He's one of those folks who just believes all these crazy things and thinks that he's above it. And that's really what it is. I mean, he clearly is living in a reality where he thinks this is that this is, an embarrassment and she's a terrible person. And that's just not the actual reality. And that's what I say. I think that a lot of these guys who have these insane takes, are definitely reaching. They're trying to stay relevant. But B, they don't live in the same reality that we live in. And I think that's the biggest thing I take away.
Jeremy Bolton says Kirk probably didn't get vaccinated and has 5 My Pillows at home.
Yeah, exactly. That's
He's
exactly
that guy.
what I'm saying. Yep.
He's that guy. It just, this was I don't usually pay attention much to, any political radio host because you just don't get much truth in it. But this was amazing to me.
Yeah.
This was particularly short-sighted.
Yeah.
I mean, this was really, really bad.
And you have people who probably listen to his show and are like, yeah, I totally agree with you, bro.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I do agree that generationally we have not served millennials well as their parents. Having firsthand experience as a parent of a millennial, we have not served our children well. I would agree with that. But Simone Biles has gone through things that, to be an Olympian, do you guys understand how difficult that is? I mean, it is, you give your entire life to that.
Yeah.
And you make money on it, absolutely, and you're famous, absolutely. That doesn't mean that you deserve what she's gone through or any of these Olympians gone through.